What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Bailey Canning. I'm an independent digital marketing strategist, and from time to time I make YouTube videos walking around my neighborhood looking like a crazy person, but it's cinematic, so what can I say? In today's video, I wanted to talk about the need for deep work in an increasingly distracted world. Now, everything I'm going to be talking about in today's video is based off the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. Great book. I recommend everyone read it. Now, the key thesis behind deep work, as the author Cal Newport lays out in the book, is that essentially as human beings, we only have probably anywhere between 3 to 5 hours of high quality intellectual type work that we can do. And then after that 5-hour time frame, it's essentially a law of diminishing returns where you're not going to really get a whole lot more high quality work done past that 5-hour point. Now, it's especially relevant in today's day and age to focus on getting as many high quality deep work hours as you can in a workday, because when it comes to knowledge work, and I hate that term because it sounds a little elitist, but it's just the vernacular of the day, so we'll have to go with it. But essentially, as the author lays out, that the only way to do high quality professional knowledge type work is to budget out 3 to 5 hours of high quality undistracted time. And while this was not a huge problem back in the day, now with the advent of technology and people constantly checking social media, especially if you're working for a company, I remember what it was like. The Slack messages are insane. The emails at a large corporate structure are even more insane. And then you throw into it the 24/7 news cycle, which is especially crazy at the moment. And then following what your friends are up to on like Instagram and Snapchat, there's never been more potential distraction than there is today. Side note, real quick, check out this creek that I'm walking through. Unbelievable. This is right across the street from me. One of the many perks of living here in Boulder. As the author breaks out more and more while you read that book, essentially it takes the human brain 30 minutes to really immerse itself in any sort of intellectual type activity, and then after that point it can really only focus for about an hour further. So really you can only do about 90 minutes worth of deep undistracted work. But if you're like most knowledge workers, where you're constantly being bombarded by emails and Slacks and distractions, especially if you're going to be working from home, that context switching, so if you're working on a blog article, for example, you do that for 10 minutes and then you check email, that context shift completely takes you out of your ability to focus deeply, and ultimately going to leave you a lot more drained and tired and all that type of stuff. And so the main reason why I'm making this video today is essentially that I think we all want to, as motivated working professionals, I think we all know the importance of work and we all want to do great work. But the problem is in today's society is that with the always on nature of work, it can be very hard to concentrate on the work itself. And then ultimately, I think none of us want to spend our whole lives at a desk working, but rather I think it makes sense then to focus on this deep work concept of trying to get in 4 hours a day roughly of undistracted work where your phone is not even in the room, or you're certainly not on your phone, you're not checking email, you're not checking Slack, you're not checking the news, you're probably not listening to a podcast in the background either. And it's these undistracted hours of high intense quality work that I'd say many people are not doing. I've worked in several offices, I've worked at a co-working space now, I see it all the time, people constantly checking their phones. It's just impossible to do high quality, creative, deep work. If you watch the Beatles documentary that came out a few years ago when they were making the Let It Be album, one of the things I think is super striking is that one, the Beatles are on a pretty strict schedule for a rock band. They're working from 9 to 6 every day. And then two, the one thing that's missing that you might not even notice that's missing until you actually think about it is that they're not on their phones, because of course there were no phones in 1967 or whatever it was. And it makes me wonder, say, if they were producing that Let It Be album, unless they were super cognizant of avoiding distractions on their phone, you will really wonder if they would have been able to achieve the same creative output. All right, and so secondly, I want to wrap up with this now. This whole concept of only doing 4 to 5 hours of deep work per day really didn't click with me until I read this book called Rest. And essentially in this book, the author talks about the fact that if you were to go back in history and you look at some of the most successful intellectual people, so we're talking about people like my boy Thomas Jefferson, we're talking about prolific writers like Stephen King or Ernest Hemingway, and then we're also talking about a lot of scientists such as Charles Darwin. If you look at their work habits, they actually only worked about 4 to 5 hours per day, and then the rest of the time they were doing a lot more what you could call like creative relaxation. They were like walking. Thomas Jefferson would just walk in a circle around his estate in Virginia, which I've had the pleasure to visit in Charlottesville. And then the book also goes into a study whereas somehow there are scientists that only work 20 hours per week, and they're actually more productive than scientists that are working 35 hours per week, which is just wild. You're literally getting more done, as the study suggested. So yeah, long story short, just wanted to make this video because I know so many people that feel like they're so burnt out working long hours and feel like they're spinning their wheels and don't even have a lot to show for it. Whereas I think if you were to read the book by Deep Work, Cal Newport, I'll link it in the description. He's also got a podcast that comes out every Monday. I love the podcast. Talks about a lot of these, as well as how this deep work concept can relate to a deep life concept of taking this undistracted worldview and seeing how you can apply it to your own personal life to live a much more intentional, deep life, as he calls it. And so yeah, I just wanted to bring up this concept because in these vlog style videos, I'll be doing more of just like the general whatever talking about, and then go, by the way, can you see the mountains in the back right there? You kind of can. All right. So yeah, hope this video was helpful. Definitely check out the Deep Work book. I really think that if you just focus on 4 to 5 hours of deep, undistracted work, you could achieve a whole lot more in your professional pursuits, and then also have a lot more time left over for friends, families, leisure activities, learning new skills, new hobbies, etc. So hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. See you in the next one. Peace.